Hello my friends and welcome back. I've been waiting for a week to say this again. It is Wednesday, my dudes. It is the hump day of the week. We're gonna begin with the video and I'm not gonna say a word about it. We're just gonna watch the whole 45 seconds of it because it is... I cannot even comment it. Look at it.
Который я вижу во сне, о, если бы знали, как дорог у Черного моря явившийся мне цветущий, как акациях город, цветущий, как акациях город у Черного моря.
I would love to say to you now, don't worry about it, this is Star Wars. But no, this is Odessa, Ukraine, a beautiful seaside resort, or at least it was a beautiful seaside resort where you would go for your honeymoon, for example. But now this is anti-drone fire, anti-aircraft fire, shooting down giant drones, and this happened only a few days ago. But the clip itself was so bizarre, so strange. I mean, these lasers up in the air, of course, these are tracers. I wanted you to see it. But now, my friends, the very first ATACMS strike inside Russia, we've been waiting for it and now it's confirmed. Russians intercepted, I mean, this comes from the Russian Ministry of Defense actually. Russians intercepted 6 ATACMS so perfectly that their own Karachev ammo depot in Bryansk erupted in explosion. I would say yes, Ivans were so genius, they intercepted 6 ATACMS missiles with their ammunition depot, exploding the ATACMS missiles right there and then by exploding their ammunition. You see, Ivan, when you destroy ATACMS, destroy them by using your own ammunition depot. Genius. There's plenty of videos which, like you can see them on the screen. This is allegedly the moment when ATACMS struck the 67th Grau arsenal near Karachev. You can hear a lot of sub-munition explosions, probably the M74 bomblets of the Block 1 M39A missile. And if you look at a photo of the M39A Block 1, it's like the plenty of these small bomblets. It's a cluster ATACMS and it does the job beautifully. Russians claim they intercepted them all. Well, hell, I claim they intercepted them all with their ammunition depot. But now, my friends, hybrid warfare on the Baltic Sea has been switched on another level. This is no small thing. 2 cables connecting Finland to Germany and Lithuania to Sweden have been cut, severed. Who did it? Well, a Chinese vessel captained by a Russian. Yes, this is hybrid warfare. These are high-speed internet cables. They're very important for the Western world communication. I mean, they're massively important, almost the foundation of our fast communication right now. And they've been cut in the middle of NATO lake. Now, what do we know? I'll go through all of the information. The Chinese ship Yipeng is the main suspect in the investigation into who cut 2 undersea telecom cables between Finland and Germany and Sweden and Lithuania. The ship sailed right over the cables when they were cut. China's Yipeng 3 was moving near both severed communication cables around the same time their faults were discovered. The break in the underwater cable between Sweden and Lithuania was discovered on Sunday, November 17th, around 10 a.m. Finnish time. The same Chinese vessel passed near the Sea Lion 1 submarine cable between Germany and Finland at 4:04 a.m. on Monday, November 18th. Damage to the cable was discovered around the same time. Coincidence? I think not. Chinese ship headed by a Russian captain. And how do we know it's a Russian captain? Well, I'm glad you asked, my friends. According to the Russian Federal Port records, the Chinese ship suspected of cutting the communication cables in the Baltic Sea was captained by a Russian citizen. Interestingly, Yu Peng was only transferred to its current owner in China earlier this month. So we have a transfer of ownership this month in November, and immediately the ship, led by a Russian captain, cuts 2 underwater cables in the Baltic Sea. What is going on in here? The ship is carrying goods and oil from Ust-Luga in Russia to Port Said in Egypt. Same captain also commandeered Arsus Arctos, also carrying goods from Ust-Luga to Egypt. Full name should be Stechentsev. A person of the name was found in Russian court records disputing missed pay from the company Albatros. That company provides services in port of Ust-Luga. Our guy might have been a pilot for the initial part of port or the full journey. By the way, there are too many coincidences here for this to be a coincidence. Last year, the Chinese vessel New Polar Bear destroyed the undersea gas pipeline Baltic connector between Finland and Estonia, my country, and that happened last year. The Chinese vessel Yipeng destroyed telecom cables connecting Finland and Germany, Sweden and Lithuania, and that happened 2 days ago. So it's the Chinese vessels, and recently the recent attack headed by a Russian captain severing these gas pipelines and internet cables underneath the Baltic Sea. What the hell is going on in here? And just to make the fact that these are no coincidences even stranger, to sum it up, here are the coincidences of the last 2 days. 2 underwater cables were cut, Finland, Germany and Lithuania, Sweden. 2 nuclear reactors malfunctioned in Finland and were shut down, one on Sunday, the other on Monday. Norway's massive Johan Sverdrup oil field shut by power outage. Support cable of the Louhun-Salmi suspension bridge broke in Finland, leaving 2 islands almost cut off. I mean, there's way too much going on in here. This is what I would call a hybrid warfare, and the Western nations, in this case I mean Germany and France mostly, because Sweden and Finland and Estonia, we all see it as it is. Hybrid warfare weapon, damaging the infrastructure, sowing chaos in our countries, because that takes effort to fix them, it takes resources and it takes attention, which is all a resource we have to allocate to fix these things, which is all a resource away from defense. So Russia and China are at a hybrid war with the Baltics, Sweden, Finland. I mean, this might be also Putin's personal get back for Finland and Sweden joining the NATO. We are at war with Russia, and the West needs to wake up to the fact. Otherwise, Russia is free to use weapons against us that we don't label as weapons. And in this case, it's very hard to defend against these weapons. We need to start seeing them as weapons, and we need to start protecting us against them. The information is coming in about this incident as we speak, but I can say with certainty now that the Danish Danish Navy ship has already connected up with the Chinese ship, and they have boarded the Chinese ship and detained it, and now they're heading it back to Danish ports, Danish waters. At this time, at least, the ship is not getting away, and there's going to be a full investigation about it. And it's not only the Danish, it is also the Norwegian ship who is speeding. You can see it on these photos. So Danish military reacted to it and the Norwegian military reacted to it. I'm glad to see these 2 Nordic countries have the balls to do so. The German Navy, question marks on my part. Yesterday, Ukraine decided to strike Russia with over 45 drones, attack drones flying into different parts of Russia, hitting different factories and oil facilities and ammunition depots. Russian media reports that 45 drones are attacking several regions of Russia. According to them, the videos show a drone hit in Belgorod region. It is reported that an EFCO plant was hit. According to the information from publicly available sources, including the company's website, as research and development facility on drone production is located there. Probably a drone manufacturing site as well. And in these videos you can also see on the screen, if I can show them, I'm not sure yet, there's bangs everywhere. I mean, Usually when I report about these attacks inside Russia, there's plenty of footage. Usually it's Russians filming it with their phones, or it's CCTV footage. It's not blind text. We just have plain footage of drones and missiles hitting targets in Russia. Russian media Russian Ministry of Defense claiming they intercept all the drones and all the missiles. But then we see that they intercepted them with their own warehouses. So it's all plain for you to see right here. It was a massive drone hit, drone strike. And one of the targets, the fourth largest oil refinery in the country in Russia, belonging to Lukoil in Nizhny Novgorod, has been shut down following a Ukrainian drone strike. It had an annual output of 17 million tons. Wow, 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 I like it. And among other targets, this is the top shop time. But wait, that's not it. This night, Ukrainian missiles and drones attacked Grau 13th Arsenal also. This is another new target I haven't mentioned yet. 13th Arsenal in Novgorod Oblast near Kotovo village, 680 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Look at it, look how far it is. I don't know why this map is in Georgian. I think it's Georgian. I'm sorry if it's not Georgian, then I offended somebody. But it's closer to Estonia than to Ukraine. I mean, look at it. We're at the same latitude here, longitude. We have plenty of photos and videos about this also online, CCTV, everything. The Russians might have intercepted 1 or 2 drones, but most of it connected to their targets. Now to hammer in the point that the Nordics and the Baltics and Poland, it's a very certain group of countries, are taking the hybrid warfare threat from Russia and China very seriously. Polish President Andrzej Duda says that Eastern Shield fortification construction project on the borders with Belarus and Russia is in fact the start of the new Iron Curtain against the Russian world. And so it is. He added that Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania are also building their part. Yes, we are. In an interview with the British newspaper The Sunday Times, Duda stated, and I quote, "If the security of my compatriots is to be safeguarded by the Iron Curtain being put up again, then okay. There will be an Iron Curtain as long as we are on the free side of it." At this, like the last Iron Curtain, Polish and the Baltics were on the wrong side of it. We were kept from the free world. At this stage, this here and now, we are building up the Iron Curtain. It's us, not the Soviets and not the Russians. We are building it up because we are trying to keep them out, not like the last time where they are trying to keep us in. It's the opposite. The crap falls out from Moscow, we're just trying to bar it. And look at it, this is what Poland is building up. It's not just fancy photos right here. It is really what they're doing. I mean, Poland is pouring billions into building up that wall. The same is being done in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. There's plenty of videos and it's on national television in our Baltic countries almost every month. Everybody's watching the progress of it. We're just building out every kind of defense fortification on the border that we can. There are bunkers, minefields, anti-tank obstacles, sheer walls, border fences, anti-tank ditch, everything. All of this is a reality. It's being built out right now. And I know I'm like a parrot repeating myself, but I cannot stress enough how seriously we're taking this stuff. Now, my friends, this part of the video can be called the Russian economy. I'll go through everything that has surfaced in the last 24 hours. And there's some very interesting stuff which I really enjoy. It's enjoyment to my eyes. Ruble course rose over 101 rubles per dollar. And don't mind the green here, because it's actually very much red for the Russians. The stock market is bleeding and the ruble is bleeding out. It goes up and down. Now it's probably again below 100 rubles per dollar, but it's falling. For the last 3 months, it has been steadily falling. It's very painful because Russians already raised the interest to 21%. That's the central bank's interest. If that don't help and the ruble is still falling, what else can they do? You don't have infinite amount of tools to fix this. You have a very certain tool, and that's an interest rate. Watch out for the Russian currency, the ruble. In a matter of days, it will be making headlines inside and outside of Russia. It has again approached the rate of 100 rubles per United States dollar, but this time their central bank has much less tools to bolster the ruble's value. It has already hiked the interest rates to a whopping 21%. As a reference, US and EU interest rates are in the range of 3 to 4.5. 2 years ago, Russia's dictator Putin directed the central bank to ensure the ruble did not depreciate beyond 100 to the dollar due to the significant psychological impact this would have on the Russian citizens. In the chart below you can see it broke once that level the day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. However, it recovered its value as the West did not react to the invasion and decided to simply watch it unfold. And at this time, when Russian ruble collapsed for a moment, Putin immediately issued directions to the central bank to do everything necessary. They started selling the dollar, they started selling the gold, they started pouring their wartime big bank of $300 billion in Russia to the economy. Of course, that stabilized the ruble. But these are only very temporary means. And as we can see, very steadily, their resources are starting to run out. And this time they don't have the same means they did in 2022. So very slowly it will follow the same path as it did in 2022. Only this time they cannot stop it. It will be painful. Hey, don't take it from me or don't take it from all of the Western analysts. Take it from her, the girl, I wanted to say take it from the guy itself, but it's actually a woman. Nabiullina is the leader or chief of the Russian central bank, and she has very strong grip. She has led the Russian central bank and the Russian inflation and economy throughout this war and steered it very steadily, but she is taking orders from Putin. And I mean, she is a very good leader of the central bank, but as you cannot, as we say in Estonian, you cannot turn shit into gold. Nabiullina announced that almost all resources of the Russian economy have been exhausted. She knows what's about to follow. Putin is no economist and issues his political orders, and Nabiullina has to work with those. But now the tools have exhausted themselves, and the results will show themselves. Among these results, I've discussed the real estate, the plane industry, the car industry. Well, employees of the Research Institute of the Pediatric Oncology and Hematology of the Cancer Research Center in Moscow have had their salaries cut by 30%. Doctors' monthly salaries cut from $2,000 per month to $1,300 per month. Salary cuts to the doctors, among others. This is only one of the symptoms. Now I'll show you another one of the symptoms, and there are many. I'm going to spread them out among the videos. I'm just not going to do everything in this video. But this is the sales of new apartments or in new buildings in all of Russia. These are 10 Russia's biggest cities. This is sales to last year compared to last year, and most of these are minus 70%, minus 60%, some are minus 80%. Very close to 100, very close to dropping to zero. Russians don't buy apartments, new apartments anymore. Banks don't issue loans. The economy will halt. These are the first signs of it. And now we'll watch a short video of a Russian woman who has a lot of question marks around her head. Why is food so expensive? I don't know why. What happened? With these prices, butter went up either by 30%, 50% or 90%. I'm standing in shock, and the old grandfather is standing next to me, holding a loaf of bread and sour cream. And he too is probably shocked by these prices. And tears literally come to his eyes. He says, how are we going to live? With that money, are we going to buy food?
У меня, говорит,
I
пенсии
don't have enough pension to buy a piece of
столько
butter.
нет, чтобы за 300 рублей, за 250,
For 300 rubles, 250 or 290 rubles,
290
a
кусок
piece of butter is $3 in Russia, which for the West it's nothing, but in Russia,
масла
oh
купить.
boy.
И я вот
I
смотрю
look
на
at
них,
him and it hurts me very much
мне,
that
конечно, очень
people
больно, что люди, которые
who
прожили
have lived in their country, who have lived their whole life, who have invested their whole
жизнь, которые
lives,
вложили в развитие страны, всю свою
all
жизнь,
their
все свои
efforts into the development of the
силы,
country,
сейчас не
now
имеют
can't
возможности
afford even to buy a piece of butter.
даже купить кусок масла. В нашей
In our very rich country, where there's
богатейшей
everything,
стране, где все есть, где мы должны
where
жить,
we should live, I don't know, like rich
я
people,
не знаю,
having everything.
как богачи должны жить, имея все. Бог нам все дал.
God has given everything to
В
our
нашей стране
country.
40%,
How many people are below the poverty line now? 40%, 80%?
80% за чертой бедности. Сколько сейчас у нас? Я не знаю, с
With these
такими ценами,
prices, I think 90% are below the poverty
мне
line
кажется,
now.
сейчас все 90% за чертой бедности. И вот этот вот прожиточный
And the living wage that we have now is just something
минимум,
unreal.
который сейчас у нас есть, это вообще просто. Даже купить
To
вот
buy
сейчас
shoes and clothes for children,
детям
for winter,
зиме обувь, одежду, это, я не знаю, уже 20
you have to spend 20,000 rubles or $200 for one
тысяч
child.
на одного
And I
ребенка.
know people in the West are reacting, oh, that's nothing. My child is so expensive, yada, yada. Yes, but for Russians, this is too much. It's very different living standards. I think most of the Western middle class people who are just getting by, it's okay, you know, they're living paycheck to paycheck, but they're getting by. They have no idea how low can you fall in Russia. It's not just getting by, it's below the poverty line. And that's not just like 10 or 20% of the country, which is bad enough. It's like 50% of the country.
нужно. Только купить зимний
Just to buy
комплект
winter
одежды.
clothing
И
set.
разговорились.
And we fell into
Я еще раз
conversation.
убеждаюсь,
I'm once
я
again
еще раз
convinced
убеждаюсь, насколько
of the fact that the Soviet people
люди,
saved
да,
their
какая-то
breath
широта
of
мышления,
mind.
что ли, сохранилась. То есть они, в
They
принципе,
understand all these processes,
понимают все
that
эти
this
процессы,
price
что это всё
rise,
намеренно происходит,
all
весь
this policy in general
подъем
is
цен,
happening
в
intentionally.
принципе, вся эта политика.
He
Человек
understands all of this, unlike,
понимает, в отличие,
unfortunately,
к сожалению, от той же молодежи,
young
там,
and
не знаю,
middle-aged
среднего
people.
возраста, многие
Many
продолжают
people continue to believe that
верить,
we
да,
will
что
rise from our
мы
knees.
поднимемся с колен. Я вот это вот
I
вообще
don't
не
understand it at all. We have been
понимаю,
hearing
сколько
all
лет мы это все
this
слышим, и
for
наша жизнь
years,
становится
and
все
our
хуже.
lives are
Происходит
only
жизнь становится
worse.
все хуже. И происходит
There is a methodical destruction of all
планомерное
spheres
разрушение всех сфер нашей жизни,
of our life and the
всей
entire
экономики.
economy.
И мы
And we came to the conclusion that our task is now to
пришли
only
к выводу с ним, что
unite.
наша задача только объединяться.
You can see, why I wanted to read the whole video to you is you can see this is a general Russian woman, maybe not connected to the war at all, but the war is affecting every part of her life and every part of every pensioner's life in Russia and everyone's lives. And they don't know why they suffer. They don't know what's happening in Russia. Why? And by the way, it inflicts a lot of fear, especially among the old people, as she said, because you know why? Because they lived through the 1991 collapse of the Soviet Union. Then they lived through the 90s, which in Russia was full bottom, going to the very, very bottom a country can go. And before the collapse, by the way, before the 91, ruble lost almost all of its value. They saw through the hyperinflation, ruble plummeted. Then the Soviet Union collapsed. Then the 90s, it was full starvation and poverty in Russia. And then they saw Putin come and ruble stabilize. And now they're seeing the same signs they saw in 1991 or 88 actually already. They know what's coming and they're afraid. That's why she means that youngsters don't understand it, because they were not alive back then. They don't know to be afraid, but old people know what's coming. Their money is about to burn in their hands. Now, my friends, we'll jump to Germany. Germany's Free Democratic Party, FDP, intends to bring the issue of supplying Taurus missiles to Ukraine to a vote in the Bundestag during the next plenary week, following the collapse of the Scholz coalition. I quote, "The Biden administration in the US is taking decisive action. Now Germany must follow its example and deliver Taurus missiles to Ukraine," said Christian Dürr, a member of the FDP. I know people have many opinions on these parties. I'm not going to step into or say anything to you. You know better. You're German or Austrian or Danish, whoever you are, you know better in your country. What I am saying as an Estonian is that whichever party is promising to deliver the Taurus missile to Ukraine is the party I would vote for right now, because this economy or any other issue they're trying to focus inside their countries, there is no bigger issue than Ukrainian victory in my eyes. So this is why I'm willing to overlook all other issues, all other political factors, and vote for the guy who promised to deliver the Taurus. In his view, after the collapse of the Scholz coalition, the FDP, in cooperation with the Greens and the Christian Democratic Union, CDU, could push this decision through the Bundestag and finally begin missile deliveries to Ukraine. He noted that majority of the MPs from the aforementioned parties have consistently supported the idea of supplying missiles to Ukraine. I've seen many comments of very knowledgeable German people, for example, who are maybe 60, 70 years old. They have seen governments come and go, and they know much better than I do. They know what the Greens are, they know what the Christian Democratic Union is, what are their values. I don't know nothing about that. What I know is that Ukraine must have the Taurus. That's what I vote on. That's what I would vote on. So feel free to open up the context of all of this if you are a knowledgeable German person and know about this. Now, my friends, I want to bring you a very cool piece of video. This is a Ukrainian mother drone. Look at it. It's a fixed-wing drone carrying 2 kamikaze drones on its wings. And in addition to the kamikaze drones, there's also 2 bomblets. They can drop the bombs and they can drop the kamikaze drones. And by the way, the kamikaze drones are hanging upside down. Yeah, and you can now see the kamikaze drone picture on the left. The battery is mostly always on the upper part of the kamikaze drone. So when they are dropped, they have to turn around, and we will see it very soon. Check it out. Boom, dropped. Let's see it one more time. Boom, it dropped. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. The bomb here, the white bomb, is connected to the kamikaze drone, not the fixed-wing mother drone. So it fell, it's trying to turn itself around, and it turned itself around, and now it's searching for targets. Why is this system so good? Well, because these kamikaze drones can only fly up to 10 kilometers. That's the absolute max. Is this battery right here? It cannot have a bigger battery, and this battery can only support up to 10, usually 5 kilometers. Now, this fixed-wing drone can come and go. It's not kamikaze. It goes, releases the kamikaze drones in like 20 kilometers, then comes back. And the kamikaze drones give it an additional 10 kilometers, meaning you can strike in the rear of the Russian front very precisely using this mother drone system. And here we can see another one being released. Here it goes. Boom, released. Making one turn, making another turn, third turn, and fourth. It took 4 turns, and now it's on the right way again. The mother drone will turn back. And by the way, it's not only a mother drone of kamikaze drones, it's also a relay. It relays the signal from the source, and it goes to the mother drone, which relays it to the kamikaze drones. In this case, they can lengthen the hit of the kamikaze from 5 to 10 kilometers to 35 kilometers with precise hit accuracy and good connection. It's a really good system. Now, this is the wow moment. When I was in Ukraine, I was in a factory where these were produced actually, and they were only prototypes back then. It was 1 year ago. So this has been in works in Ukraine for a year, and the factory looked amazing. Very ghetto though. Now, my friends, I know you need some laughter in your hump day, in the Wednesday. Did you know that Moscovian T-90 tanks spent more time in the air than the Su-57? It is true. We have seen countless videos of Russian T-90s just releasing their turrets in the explosion, and the turret goes to the moon, being the first tank-cased turret in the moon, while the Su-57 has never been to the moon. It has flown more. And Ukrainians have helped the T-90 spend more time in the air than the Su-57. Now, my friends, I will bring you this decorated Russian soldier. I mean, look at the medals. Look at them. They're shining on the chest. Oh, this must be a war hero. It's 1 minute long. Let's see what he has to say. And this guy has no incentive to lie again because he might be gone tomorrow. If you are gone tomorrow, you don't want to lie today. What this war has done, what has it done? I was commander, yeah. No shoulder strap marks, I'm washing the uniforms. Assault reconnaissance, separate recon company. What the politicians say about us? They say nothing at all. Who are we for them? We are meat for them. Meat, meat. Meat to make money off. To make money off our injuries. To hide a person. To label him missing in action. And appropriate his money. Many wives in Russia, so many. I'm sorry for you girls. What he's saying is that he was a commander. I mean, recon, super important, but not for the Russians. They're all meat, right? So he's saying that Russian politicians are just using them as meat and then labeling them as missing in action or dead in action. Missing in action, which means you don't have to pay. If it's dead in action and it's confirmed, you got to pay reparations to the family, which is a lot of money in Russia. But if it's missing in action, you don't pay to the wives, you don't pay to the mothers or sons of the soldiers. That's what he's complaining about. And that's a commander on the front who might die tomorrow. So he speaks the truth, saying we are meat, meat, meat. We're just making money for the politicians who label us missing in action. So this is the truth of the front for the Russians. Finally, Biden administration has approved the provision of anti-personnel landmines to Ukraine. By the way, now I'm very happy about this. Again, this is a moment when you call me a sociopath or a psychopath, but let me explain. People are against landmines, anti-personnel landmines, because most of them, or some of them won't explode and will be unexploded ordnance in 10 years, 15 or 20 years, and Ukrainian future children would step on them. My friends, Ukrainian land is so over-exaggerated with darts, unexploded artillery shells, unexploded ordnances that there's nothing you can do to add to this. It's per square meter, Ukraine is like the most heavily saturated country, even more than Laos and Vietnam. Yes, I know what I'm talking about with these countries. Even nowadays, people explode there. Ukraine is like on another level. There's so much you can. Issuing these anti-personnel mines will raise the frontline saturation of 10 unexploded ordnance per 10 square meters to like 12 unexploded ordnance. It doesn't change much, but what it does, it's remove Russian soldiers from the front who can shoot less artillery shells, kill less Ukrainian civilians. It is a good thing for Ukraine, and these should have been allowed a long time ago. This is maybe the war that I am for, the massive usage of anti-personnel mines on Ukrainian side. Putin has done once again another red line. I should stop saying Putin issued a red line, but more like he has done a red line, like he's blowing coke or something, because I feel like he's addicted to them and really this. Okay, let's look at the meme first, and it's not a meme, it's a reality for Russia. This is a map of Russian population density. This tower here is Moscow, of course, massive population center. This is St. Petersburg, and the rest, a little bit of people here and there, a little bit of cities. Don't talk about nukes so much when your population density looks like this. Yes, because they are the one always issuing the nuclear threats, saber rattling about nukes. Putin loves that. But look at the population density. I mean, Russia is the country that should be afraid of nukes most of all. All it takes is 2. And just to illustrate to you that I'm not making this stuff up, this is recorded Every time a Russian official, a high up Kremlin representing official, Lavrov, Putin or Peskov, issuing a nuclear threat to the West. All of this is dated, it's linked, and these are all red lines. By the way, 90% of them have been crossed by Ukraine and the West. I don't see no nuclear bombs out there. Putin is now issuing his famed red lines at such furious pace that the time he issues his latest, Ukraine had already widely violated it. Likely drafted in his last night's late hours before being released to the press this morning, Putin's updated nuclear doctrine wasn't in time to impede Ukraine's early morning deep strikes on a Russian ammunition depot deep inside Russia's Bryansk region with American ATACMS. Increasingly, we will find that Putin's red lines exist only in the minds of Western politicians. Okay, so what is this text talking about? Last night, Putin issued a decree changing the nuclear doctrine of Russia. What it did really is freeing it up, allowing the usage of nuclear weapons more freely, which is supposed to be frightening to the West. Well, I'm not afraid of it. Neither should you, because why should anyone live in fear? Well, this was done in response to Biden administration allowing Ukraine to attack Russian land with ATACMS. So it was like, if you do this, if you attack Russian lands with ATACMS to Ukrainians, you know, you can use a nuclear weapon. And immediately, a few hours after this was released by the Russians, by Putin, Ukrainians attacked Russian lands with ATACMS. Ooh, wow. And now I'll bring out some biggest red lines that the West has been afraid and that Putin has issued, and then in the end they're empty, just to illustrate to you that you have to choose to lose your fear. If Sweden joins NATO, if Ukraine receives Western 155mm shells, if Ukraine receives HIMARS, if Ukraine receives ATACMS, if Ukraine receives Western tanks, if Ukraine attacks Crimea, if Ukraine uses Western cluster munitions, if Ukraine uses Western targeting satellite information, if Ukraine strikes Russian oil refineries in Russia, if Ukraine shoots down a Russian military plane over Russia, if Ukraine gets F-16, if long-range Western weapons strike Russian territory, all of this are Putin's red lines, and unfortunately the West is sometimes taking them seriously. There's an issue here. And to hammer in this point even more, because I know it makes me feel mixed feelings that people in the West take Putin's nuclear threat seriously. And people are saying, yeah, when it finally happens, you wish you would have taken it seriously. But yeah, my friends, this is what he's praying for. Putin's export is fear. If you're afraid, he wins. If you're not afraid and he actually uses the nuclear weapon, so what? You'll be gone in a second. Why live in fear? Putin changes the nuclear doctrine to allow greater freedom to use nuclear weapons. This is empty rhetoric because, number one, the doctrine was never a constraint, as Putin could alter it at will. Number two, his real constraint is China, which would seek to remove him if he uses nukes. And Ukraine has already violated Putin's nuclear doctrine. Ukraine has, for the first time, struck the Russian territory with ATACMS missiles. According to the publication, they attacked an arsenal in the Bryansk region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine General Staff has confirmed that Ukraine has struck an arsenal of the 1046th Logistical Center near the town of Karachev in Russia's Bryansk region. And now, my friends, for the Wednesday edition, I want to butcher some Buy Me a Coffee monthly members. I do this for the last 4 years already, every video. I never skip one, so if you have supported the channel every month in Buy Me a Coffee, I'll be butchering your name to oblivion. First of all, we have Jose A. Alfaro 2. We have Skroda. We have Timothy and Dottie Maken. Timothy Maken, almost every video I say your name. You repledged all the time. Hey, I'm nothing against it. Keep it coming, brother. And finally, we have Damon Eriksson. Thank you to all of you. If you like my channel, Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description below. Until my next video, my friends, which will be on Friday. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.